Thank you for being patient as we had a little bit of a road trip over Ramp Up and Expo West and South by Southwest, but we are back in the studio for a few days before we head out to Shop Talk. And we've got a really fun guest for you guys today. Rob Dawson is the Chief Strategy Officer of Creator.co, a Vancouver, Canada-based all-in-one influencer marketing platform founded in 2016 that connects brands with creators for authentic collaborations, campaign management, performance tracking, and AI-powered tools like their London AI agent for matching, outreach, and scaling campaigns. In his role, he has led corporate strategy, growth initiatives, strategic partnerships, and the push towards AI-powered creator commerce, helping brands discover fitting creators, automate workflows, and drive measurable ROI in the creator economy. With over 25 years of experience in digital transformation, innovation, and scaling businesses, he's positioned at the forefront of bridging brands and creators through data-driven, authentic partnerships. Prior to Creator.co, his background includes executive leadership in growth and digital strategies across global organizations. Prior roles span tech, media, marketing sectors, etc. He's based in Canada, active on LinkedIn at Robert E. Dawson. He shares insights on the creator economy, influencer marketing trends, AI in marketing, and platform evolution. Creator.co is recognized as a top global influencer platform serving brands with tools for search, recruitment, campaign automation, analytics, and more. Rob, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you coming on. I know you and I have bumped into each other a few times on the road, and I was excited to finally get you on the show. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dylan. Really appreciate the opportunity to have a chat with you.
Let's go. Well, I know I gave a little bit of a bio there, but I always like to hear about people's origin stories. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, where you grew up, what did you study, and being in the creator economy since 2016 is a bit of a tenure. So would love to hear, how you got into the space and all the behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. I like to say I've been in the creator economy since before it was called the creator economy. So that makes me one of the OGs. I don't know. A bit of backstory on me. So I grew up mostly in Western Canada in a town called Victoria, and also in Ottawa. Really decided at a pretty early age that I wanted to get into marketing. I think it was 10th grade. I remember taking a marketing course as an elective, and I was pretty much hooked from the get-go. I'm like,
wow,
I need to figure out how to do this. This was the path I wanted to take. And, I was one of those kids that was, maybe a little smarter than others, but it was really just like, what's the quickest path to get something done? And so I, set a goal at an early age to, figure out how to get into marketing, and made a decision at the end of, high school. Do I go and get a 4-year degree, or do I, kind of branch out, start something myself? And I figured the 4-year degree was going to get me into a marketing job quickest. So that's what I did. So I took a business, got a Bachelor of Commerce business degree from one of the more recognized universities in Canada for business, and relocated myself right after graduation in Vancouver, and I've pretty much set up shop here since. And that's really where I started my career in marketing.
I love it. So. Yeah. 10th grade, sounds like a pretty cool high school to be able to have a marketing class. I remember I kind of learned about the filmmaking process in high school, but it was more around, a project in my Spanish class. So
yeah,
is that common for Canadian high school to have kind of that more like tactile learning environment?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it was, there was a teacher there that had an interest and had a background in it, and he set up this elective course. So it was literally like, do I want to take auto shop or, home ec or marketing? And I'm like, oh, marketing sounds interesting. So that's what I did. And, that was in, late 80s, so it was all about the learning about the madmen of marketing, you know, the Dave Ogilvy's of the world and all of that, and, you know, really that was what sparked my interest. And, you know, it was I've thought back about that and like what's the common thread, and to me marketing is almost like understanding psychology. It's like how do people
Mm,
make decisions, what goes into somebody's decision process, how do they evaluate one thing versus another, and I think that's what interested me about that. It was really about understanding people and, you know, what interests them, what generates awareness and action. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think a lot of us forget how much our lizard brain is actually the thing that's making our purchase decisions. We like to sometimes think we're more sophisticated, I think, than we actually are
Yeah.
as it pertains to, you know, how we fall in love with brands and how we make impulse decisions, whether that's on social media or whether we're standing in front of the water display at the gas station.
Yeah.
But so, you know, early to the creator economy, I think, you know, you and I chatted in the pre-show. I've been in it for a minute too, since about 15 years ago when I started an agency that helped brands get into blogs like TMZ and Radar and People. And this was right before Facebook and YouTube launched. So I definitely have that old school tenure as well.
Yeah.
But what did it look like in 2016? Was that a prior iteration of Creator.co that you guys
Yeah.
rebranded at some point? Tell me about the early days.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, you know, I would say I got into the creator economy in 2014, and just a bit of a backstory in terms of like how I got there. So I
Yep.
basically before that, I had sort of two stages to my career. I started on the brand and the client side of the business. So in, you know, marketing roles, multi-unit retail businesses, you know, helping doing things like brand strategy, advertising, promotion, and that sort of thing, media buying. So got kind of a really good basis around, you know, marketing. And then I left the client side, the brand side, and, you know, had like a opportunity in my career where I needed to make a big decision and decided to branch out and started an agency. And that was you know, myself and a partner. He had been operating for a little bit of time, and we decided to get together. And really, it went from the two of us to, you know, we grew that agency to about 25 people, had a
Wow.
over, you know, and really, you know, did a lot of really interesting things at the beginning of the internet too, right? So, you know, building companies' very first websites and doing all of their branding, brand strategy, you know, corporate marketing, that sort of thing. So that was kind of the second stage of my career. And what I found was around, I would say 2012, 2014, I was looking at I would call it we were in a traditional agency business, right? Where, you know, it was a lot of fee for service work, right? And I was looking at what was going on around digital marketing, and really how the internet at that time provided an opportunity to scale and to apply some of the things that, you know, that I was doing on a one-off basis, apply them at scale. So I made a decision in 2014 to exit the agency. And I decided I was going to get into the tech industry, right? And that was the goal that I had set for myself. And I happened to come across a company, actually based out of London and Calgary, Canada. So London, England, Calgary, Canada, that had just received some funding, and they were in what was called the crowdsourcing space.
Mm,
Okay, so, and if, you know, you've been around the creator economy it kind of formed out of a few things that were happening around that time, and crowdsourcing was one of them. And so this company called Chaotix, what it did, and it was a relatively new startup. I think it was only about 20 people when I joined. It built digital communities for brands to help crowdsource content, value, etc. And it was really about bringing together a community of people in a digital environment and creating things with them. right? And again, this is early days of the creator economy. This is well before, really the social platforms took off in a big way that they are today. And so, I came in at a really great time in that business. It had a technology platform that it was, building out, and it was beyond beta, but it was definitely in, it needed some further development. And the CEO and founder of that business was a visionary. She's somebody I work with to this day.
Wow.
Really saw what was happening in this space and was going after it in a big way. So we were fortunate to land a big contract, and that contract was with a company called Lego. That was really the beginning for me of, honestly, a relationship with Lego that's lasted a dozen years. And what we built for Lego was the world's largest crowdsourcing community, essentially.
Wow.
And it exists today. And it was really about bringing together their fans, their followers. They have such passionate people that love that brand. And it was about engaging them in various activities, online exercises, etc., to design and innovate new products for the company. And that was really it was a key pivotal time to really understand how crowds and communities connect online, and what could be created from that. So yeah, I felt really fortunate to be involved in that business, and that was sort of what got me into what today is the creator economy.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, like obviously Lego, such an affinity around the toys themselves. I played with Legos. I still have some of my original Legos that I've passed on to my kids, and of course we get new ones all the time, and probably some up in the shelves here somewhere.
Yeah.
But and then also, Lego has just been such a master of, the licensing opportunities to then build further affinity around the toys,
Yeah.
plus the opportunity to, like, bring in worlds, so whether it's Harry Potter or Marvel or things that people, have an even further affinity towards. So I'm wondering, when you saw that kind of early days, that idea of like crowdsourcing, obviously you could create photos, you could create videos from those communities and probably other things as well. Use it as a giant focus group. But when did you guys see that this actually like could equal media? Like actually, that folks could, take what they were building maybe internally for the brand as content, but they could start putting them in places where it would generate, earn media, if you will, outside of, like closed ecosystems.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question, and like a great observation, because that's really what we were seeing as we were building these digital communities, not only for Lego but for other major brands as well. Worked with some Unilever brands and some financial services companies and other kind of very customized communities that we built. The interesting thing, and I think honestly the reason why Lego Ideas was created, is Lego was already seeing this happening out in the ecosystem, right? So still to this day, and I don't know the exact number, but something in the magnitude of 90% of the content that you see for Lego online is not produced by the company. It's produced by fans, right? And they actually have a term, which is adult fans of Lego, AFOLs, as they call them. And these are adults that have, probably not unlike yourself, they've grown up with Lego. They've brought Lego to their kids. They continue to buy and build and collect. And they've also found ways to do other things creatively with this platform for creativity, which is what Lego really is, right? Lego really, their mandate is learning through play, right? So providing a system of building, of creating, that people can use as a toy initially, but really they can learn from it, right? So what Lego found was that people were creating like amazing stop action videos with new sets that were being launched. They were building their own communities online, and there's a number of those that exist today. And they were constantly approaching the company, these fans, and saying, you should launch this, you should do that, right? And there was really no platform for people to be able to do that other than maybe through social media channels. And really that was the catalyst for Lego Ideas, is let's create a community where we can bring these people together, where they can innovate products, where they can engage with each other to refine and improve those products and decide which ones are the best. There's like a voting system built inside of Lego Ideas where you can vote on your favorite products. And once a product gets to a certain point, then Lego actually puts it into their R&D system, and they decide, okay, can we build this? How would we build this? You mentioned licensing. We need to go license content from another provider. So that was really how the products were developed inside of Lego Ideas. But what we found was the products that were most successful, there was content being shared outside of the community into other social channels. So, if you designed a product that you loved, a set of binoculars that you think that Lego should create, then you encourage other people to vote on that product. And so you would go outside of the community and you'd bring people into the community to register and to vote on that product. And so there was a lot of this content just happening out on Facebook, Instagram, and other social channels, that was really promoting these products, these ideas that didn't even exist yet, right? And so there's obviously a ton of earned media value through that. There's, all kinds of connections that happen through that for the company. And it's, and one of the things I think too, like that brands need to understand, and I think Lego embraces this, is that when you engage your community, when you engage creators in this part of your brand and the brand story, then you lose a bit of control too. And you need to be comfortable giving up that control, right? Because you're now part of the ecosystem. You're not just the brand, right? Like in the golden age of advertising, the David Ogilvy days, you came up with your brand messaging and your creative strategy and your media strategy, and you pushed that message out there, right? Well, that doesn't happen anymore. In the creator economy, you're engaging people in conversation about the brand.
Yeah.
The brand is no longer just yours, right? It's what you say the brand is, but it's also what other people say the brand is too.
Yeah, it's interesting. It almost seems like the more passionate the community, the less ownership you have of it as a brand. When we worked on the Jeep business, people would literally go insane if any picture was posted by the brand that wasn't a Wrangler. So we had to build separate social channels for all of the, the non-Wrangler content. If we wanted
Grand Cherokee owners like me, right?
Yeah, if we wanted to promote, Compass or Grand Cherokee, we had to have a whole another strategy for that. Because if you touch the Wrangler page, they would literally. It would be like an anarchy.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's a great point. You don't own your brand anymore. You're a steward of your brand. You can kind of like gently tap the brand in different directions, and you can pour gasoline on it, and you can make it ebb and flow. But it's kind of a constant thing that lives and breathes with or without your say so, which is pretty funny.
And it's true. And it's like, I'll be honest, that was one of the main ideas that I had to kind of get my arms around as a marketer, right? Because like I ran a branding agency. We decided with the brand what the story should be, the persona, everything, right? And tried to very much, like get that message out there consistently and those types of things. And, as you get into content creation with creators, as you get into innovation, which was another chapter of my career, you need to be able to let go. And actually it's in letting go of control, that's where you get the most value at, right? Because You know, and I think it's one of the adages of Lego as a company, and this comes from their, you know, their chair on down, is that the smartest people are not working inside the business. The smartest people are actually engaging with that company and with that brand in other ways. And you need to be able to believe that, right? Yeah.
Super cool. Super cool. All right. So, at what point, you know, you talked about kind of coming in 2014 with this, your business partner for the first time and starting in this world of crowdsourcing. When did things change, or when did Creator.co become the platform that you guys are currently out to market with?
Yeah, that's great. And to be clear, so I started my agency with a partner. I exited that agency with him. I joined Chaotix, as eventually became chief marketing officer. And what happened with Chaotix is essentially Chaotix spun into two entities through various things, everything from some, fundraising that was done and exit of key people, et cetera. And what was created was another company, which was very much focused around building digital communities, but doing it not through a tech platform, doing it through a lot of strategy and consulting and building like more customized, bespoke type of communities. And so that company called Iovia is one that I joined in 2017, kind of when it was forming, helped to kind of get it set up and some initial programs and projects underway. I actually left for a year, decided to go into a totally different industry, and came back to the business in the early 2020s, eventually taking on the CEO role. So I was the CEO of that business for about 3 years. Completely, I like to say we were a completely remote business before COVID made that necessary. So, really managing a business that had kind of a footprint in North America, a footprint in the UK and Western Europe, and, was building digital communities, digital strategies for large consumer brands. Again, Lego being one of them, IKEA being another, and some large companies that were trying to get their head around, like, how do we build community? How do we engage the creators outside of our industry, outside of our business, to create value together? And kind of this idea, the whole premise was this idea of mutual value creation for everybody, right? So if somebody creates an idea, content, etc., for a brand, they should benefit from that content creation. The brand should benefit, and if there's other parties to it, they should benefit as well. And so that was sort of the premise of what we had in Iovia. Around about 2022, 2023, I was working on a project with that business, and was looking at various creator economy platforms, technology platforms, what was out there, what could this client tap into that would enable them to find and activate a lot of creators to engage with. And I happened to be doing a limited podcast series at the same time, and came across Creator Co. And it's one of those, like, I don't know what you believe when it comes to like making things happen, manifestation, etc. But lo and behold, I was searching the globe for a creator economy platform, and here in my hometown was this startup that had been growing like crazy, was building exactly what it was that I was looking for this client. So I ended up connecting with the founder, CEO, Vinod, and interviewed him for my podcast initially. Interviewed him for this project I was working on with the client, and we really hit it off, is the easiest way to say it. The company was at a point where it was really ready to grow and scale up. Like the foundational technology was there, the client base was established, the kind of go-to-market offering was established, and it was ready to scale it up. So what I did over the course of like kind of late 2022, early 23 was we agreed on an acquisition of my company into Creator, and that's when I came on board as Chief Strategy Officer of the business. So really with the mandate of growing the business through larger partnerships, larger enterprise clients, that sort of.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of coincides to some degree when I started seeing you pop up in the US market more often. I started to see you at things like CES and VidCon and some of these, even these smaller, more intimate creator events like SOCOM that we reconnected at recently.
Yeah.
So was that a big part of your mandate, was to kind of lead North American or specifically the US expansion?
Yeah, there was a couple of things that, we've always been focused on the North American market as a whole, US, Canada. US is obviously where there's a lot of the brands and quite frankly, a lot of the creators that we intersect with. It was a natural to kind of build out the business. What my mandate was largely around building out partnerships, and one of the partnership strategies that really took off for us was integrating with the major affiliate networks, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and the way the affiliate business works is there's a number of conferences every year. You kind of need to go to one and be at all of them. And so we started going to ASW, ASE, the major, Rakuten, CJ conferences, et cetera. And while we were doing that, we were building the rails inside of our platform to be able to connect our creators with all of the various affiliate offers that brands were offering out there. And it really, has become a major growth strategy for us in the business is, to tap into those partnerships and gain access to some of the larger brands that are looking for content creators to not only drive top of funnel awareness for them, but also to drive sales and conversion for those brands as well.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think it was probably prescient of you to do that because, for a long time, the creator economy has been very focused on kind of what I would call vanity metrics, cost per view, cost per impression, cost per engagement, things that are, of course, important to a lot of brands. But, if you look at the Chinese market, you're not influential if you don't sell things. Like there's no such thing as a creator that can drive brand awareness that can't drive conversions. It's basically you do both or you're not considered influential.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's all this other stuff that comes from creators. You've got, experiential activations. You got the fact that they can create content at scale. They can help with your personalization funnel. Their audiences for media targeting because they have a proprietary audience that you can hook into. And they, of course, drive top line awareness. But yeah, at the end of the day, like they also drive sales, and more brands are starting to think of their creative strategy as part of their affiliate strategy. I wonder, do you think that, within a period of time, do you think eventually the US market or the Western market will, kind of intersect with that Chinese model of like, if you can't move product, you aren't influential?
I think the premise of it is 100% going to happen, already happening, right? So where I believe that creators will be the largest channel to drive conversion for brands in the future. They're already becoming a bigger part of the picture. No longer are influencers and creators sort of looked at as a sideline strategy that, a CMO or a VP marketing, decides to dabble in. It's very much integrated now, becoming more integrated with their overall media strategy, their, create their content strategy and their conversion strategy. And that is where it's going. We saw that trend pretty early. And we started to build the pieces of the puzzle to be able to really activate on that in a big way. I don't think it's going to go the same way as the Chinese market. I think that, the Asian market is very different. Even, products, brands, the way business is done is very different. But I think there will be a uniquely North American take on that same idea that creators drive conversion and are a channel for brands that will create a lot of ROI and a lot of additional benefit that you wouldn't maybe typically get from a typical media channel, right? So, yeah, it's an interesting time to be in the industry. I mean, like I said, we saw the trend, and it's called social commerce, it's called content to conversion, whatever moniker you want to put on it. But really what it means is really engaging, activating creators at scale to be able to be the primary selling channel for a brand.
Love it. Let's talk about social selling for a minute since we reconnected at SOCOM. That's the big trend, or it's a part of, this whole TikTok shop trying to create conversion channels from your paid social efforts or your creator strategy. But there's this kind of like separate world in which these, commerce creators operate in. You hear about a creator that maybe has 10,000 followers, but they're making $60,000 a month on TikTok shop. It has nothing to do with kind of the traditional metrics around influence. It has to do with being able to create very specific types of content that move the needle inside of these algorithms and drive product consideration and ultimately sales. How is SOCOM for you? And how do you think, that's another place where we always see a comparison to the China market and the US market. How do you see the current take of social commerce in the West?
Yeah, I mean, SOCOM was great. It was great. It's the second year of that conference, and I think it was great to see it graduate from what was the first year was a relatively small, maybe 150, 200 people that got together in a small venue to what it was this year, which was more people, larger venue, more, I'd say, meaningful conversations happening. So it's great, and we'll definitely participate in that event going forward. What I see happening is that there is, as you said, like you hit the nail on the head. There's different types of creators out there for different purposes, right? And just like if you go back to traditional advertising, there were different types of media for different purposes as well, right? You would your message and your strategy on your national TV buy would be very different than your direct mail, right? They support each other, but they're different. And so what we're seeing in the social commerce space is there is a type of creator that knows their audience, knows what to put in front of their audience that's going to drive action. It's funny. It's usually not the prettiest content. I'll just flat out say that.
It's the low pro.
Yeah, it is. Because the prettiest content, the best content is let's assume it's already been put out there. It is being put out there, right? So, because there are influencers that, drive those top of funnel awareness metrics. And the conversion focused creators are the ones that take all of that awareness and their audience's desire for that product and give them a reason to make a purchase, right? So that might be a curated collection of that brand's products that you don't even need to think about. But if you like this outfit that I'm wearing, then, here's how you can buy it. And oh, by the way, you can get 15% off if you use my code, right? So very much call to action focused creative, right? And can be other things. There's other triggers that will encourage a consumer to take action and make a purchase, right? And so these conversion focused creators they get that, they understand that, they know how to put the message together, they know how to deliver it authentically. That's super important too. And they have the audience that will take action because in fact that audience is looking for that creators' advice, their recommendation, etc. I mentioned authenticity. That's a whole topic. We could do a podcast. But authenticity is super, super important. I think a lot of consumers recognize that there are creators, influencers out there that are being paid. They're being paid big dollars to recommend a product that they've never even touched in their life. Most consumers today are seeing beyond that. The vast majority of the work that we do are with nano, micro, mid-tier creators that have very loyal followings. They have super authentic content, and their audience knows and believes that that person is recommending this product because they love it. They happen to be a fan of it. They happen to believe in what it is, whatever that product is, whether it's everything from fashion to cosmetics to health and wellness products to lifestyle home products. It doesn't really matter, right? But there's an authenticity to it. And that's super, super important. And then the other variable that we're finding, that is also driving conversion with these conversion-focused creators is you need to amplify their voice, right? And this is a function of where the internet is at and the social media networks, is that there are algorithms, and certain content gets seen by more than others, and the organic reach of a creator is diminishing in favor of amplified content that's being put out there. And so we need to find ways, and these content, conversion focused creators, they have ways of amplifying their voice. So it essentially gets in front of more people and taking and optimizing that content so that the highest performing content, the best content, is the content that gets in front of consumers, because we know that it's the content that's ultimately going to drive action. And quite frankly, it's the content that the consumers want to see, because they're giving the algorithm that positive reinforcement that I like this content. I'm doing something when I see this content. I'm, engaging in it in a different way. I'm sharing it. I'm saving it. I'm liking it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So does that kind of dovetail into the paid strategy? So, the idea is really, we now live in an algorithm-based economy, and, sad to say it to the big influencers, but my daughter has 3,000 followers. She had a video that did 150,000 views yesterday.
Yeah.
But then, you can have a creator with 2 million followers put out a video and it gets 8,000 views.
Yeah.
So, we're living in this algorithm-based economy where everybody has a level playing field to some degree. Yes, having an audience helps, gain an initial exposure level. But if people aren't watching and engaging, even somebody with a big following, that content can fall flat, which also rings back to that idea that your content has to be authentic, because if it feels like a logo slap, even if you have a big audience, it might not get algorithmic, voting essentially. So is the idea to kind of try a lot of things with these micro, nano, mid tiers, and then look for the ones that hit. And then those are the ones that you put paid media behind, because it's already showed you that the platform likes it, and the platform is going to give you lower costs, because if you promote something that already has algorithmic, lock-in, so to speak, they decided that it's a good user experience to their ecosystem of TikTok or Meta or Google. And now they're going to show it to more people at a cheaper rate because the paid is working harder for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head, and that strategy is becoming increasingly important. I think a lot of brands and agencies are understanding that that is a super effective strategy. Again, like, I always look for connection points back to, there's a reason that, like, my career focus has gone from where I was to where I am. And, back in the day when I was buying media for Wendy's restaurants, we would do A/B testing, right? We were doing test marketing, and we would do A/B testing of, like, let's try this piece of creative with this message, and let's try this piece of creative with this message. And we test them in 2 different markets, right? Well, this is the same strategy, but it's at scale, like at scale. right? So we're looking at different pieces of content. We're looking at different creators, therefore spokespeople for these brands. We're looking at different even channels where that content is being distributed. And we're comparing all of that and going, okay, where are we getting optimal performance, right? How can we optimize performance? And then really focusing and encouraging the brands to focus their efforts on the combination of, content creator channel that is getting the best performance, right? So it's a tried and true strategy that is being deployed in today's economy, right? And because of the technology that we have and the analytics that, are a marketer's dream, we were able to really optimize in ways that we couldn't before, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about London. We are in the hype cycle phase of AI. V2 is agentic. We're all looking for tools that will go out and do some tasks and some things for us. And
Right.
you guys are talking about the idea of agentic being a matchmaker for figuring out what creators are right for your brand, doing the outreach campaigns, and then campaign setup, performance, all the way to the end-to-end reporting.
Yeah.
This has always been a dream. A lot of these legacy US-based influencer companies, they've been building on top of old technology since 2015. A lot of them look like Windows 98, and they're kind of beastly to move in new directions as we're in this new world of vibe coding and being able to build products really quickly, and specifically agentic. So a lot of these guys say that they have, an automated process to find, create, outreach, review, and report out on creators. But then when you actually find out, sitting on the management side, which I have, is they've still got account managers sending emails and calling people and, kind of doing it the old school way. Their front end is basically what they call vaporware.
Yeah.
So tell us about how London is different, and how have you finally cracked the code around that idea of true agentic matchmaking where you don't need humans in the loop?
Yeah. And you always need humans in the loop, because it's pretty in our business, because you know what, our creators are humans. We're not at
right
that where our creators are AI generated, but let's talk in a few years' time, I guess. What I would say, first of all, Dylan, is it's like a super exciting time to be in the technology industry because of what AI enables. It's so many different levels across an organization. Our vision and what we've launched with London is to have an agent that essentially takes the needs and the asks and requirements of a brand and curates a customized group of creators that can execute on that task. We launched London less than a month ago.
Wow.
This is V1. There are 3 major stages that are going to be launched over the next 12 to 18 months for our agentic agent. And what I will say is we wouldn't be this far along if we hadn't built it on some really solid technology and a platform that we have. So what we already had inside of Creator was a database of 400 million creators globally. It's essentially, the easiest way to think of it is essentially anybody with a public social media account over about 1,000 followers. We have access, and we have a ton of data and information about. That's kind of our foundational database that we have to draw from. And we also have a registered community of 275,000 creators with a capital C, because they've registered on our platform to say, hey, I am actively looking to do brand collaborations with the brands that you work with. So we have this amazing pool of creators to search and find and activate from, that gives us a huge starting point. What we built and what our engineers have done over the last while is to put that all together into a data lake. Think of it as like a big repository of information, and then build the rails through, through available AI technology to be able to mine that data lake and find and do the best matchmaking based on, what a brand is looking for. So the experience, today is that a brand can go in, and instead of having to like toggle searches and look for, look for various things, they essentially, can type in what it is that they're looking for. And has knowledge and generates knowledge around the brand and the brand's, positioning, its ICP, its et cetera, and then mines that data lake through a proprietary MCP that we've built to curate a list. Right. Well, curating a list is really the starting point. So like I might be looking for, as a brand, I might be looking for 20 influencers that I want to collaborate with next month. The list we would curate might be several hundred, right? And then through an automated process, what the agent will do is to reach out to those several hundred influencers individually in a customized, unique way for each of them based on what we know about that influencer and their focus and their interest, to invite them to have a look at this program that the brand is launching, right? So that type of outreach previously we were doing very manually, and we were doing it in bulk, right? So we would say we'd curate a list of maybe 100 potential influencers, and we'd send them a bulk email in, saying, hey, this is the details of the brand and what they're looking for. Are you interested? Would you like to opt into this, right? Because the agent has so much knowledge at its fingertips and the ability to individualize the messaging, we've customized the outreach to each individual influencer, therefore getting a higher response rate. And so that's the beginning of this agentic experience. There are, as I said, and there's 3 major phases of building London as an AI agent in Creator. There's also a creator experience that we will build where creators can actively promote themselves to brands and can, the agent will curate the best brand opportunities for them. And there's an optimization component that we'll also build where we can, because of all of the data that we hold and because of all the programs that we've run over the years, we can essentially predict the success of a program based on connecting an individual brand to an individual creator. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming. It's great to see how it really helps, a brand and quite frankly, our internal team, recruit and activate creators in a much more efficient way than how it's been done before.
Very exciting. I wonder, do you think AI has a place for the creative brief? And what I mean by that specifically is, there's definitely been talk for many years around the idea that like creators don't want to be told what to do. They want to have creative freedom and they know best what's going to resonate with their audience. But if we now have AI that can watch videos from 22 different dimensions and then have a platform like yours that sees back-end performance, should we use AI to create a more prescriptive brief and, let creators know that if they follow this script, maybe not a script, but if they follow a format and they include certain things, then the performance is going to go up and they're going to make more money?
It's a great question. It's one that we've had some debates on ourselves, to be candid. I think at the end of the day, you got to let a creator be a creator. You can provide advice and guidance to them around what will be the most effective. But they know their audience, they know their message, they know their brand. And I think ultimately they should make the individual decision on the content that they would create. Whether the brand approves that content and decides to do much with it after it's produced is something entirely up to the brand, in my view. because the brand ultimately, wants to be able to have, some element of impact around what their message is that's out there. But there is definitely, with all of the data that's available, with the the AI that is available to us, there is definitely an ability to predict performance and to optimize performance based on, like you said, a certain word that you might use in a piece of content, or a certain formula that you might follow for how the content is delivered. And that's powerful stuff. And I think ultimately, like I said, it would be up to the creator as to whether they would do that or not. What's more likely to happen in this space, and it's also an area where AI can be extremely effective, is to generate multiple pieces of content that have different aspects to them, different triggers, different messages, and to deploy each of them initially to determine what actually is the most successful, and then optimize on the most successful ones. So one of the things, there's a lot, and we haven't touched on this yet, but there's a lot of noise discussion out there about AI creators, right? And I think we're at the point today where you can pretty much tell if some content that you're seeing is if that's a real person, or if that's AI. Those lines are blurring, and it won't always be the case. But I think what is super exciting to me around how creators can use AI, it's to actually scale themselves. Right.
Yeah.
So they own their name, their image, their likeness, their follower base. They own, their brand, because they are a brand. But they could be utilizing AI and AI content creation tools to scale the number of messages they can put out, the number of variations of those messages, to really see for themselves, what's going to be more effective. And I think that's an exciting area that I'm certainly interested in seeing where it goes, and being a part of it. I think the jury's out on AI creators and where that goes. I think there'll be a segment where that's very effective, and I think ultimately we'll arrive at a place where it's a combination of all of those things that people start to see and engage with in their social content.
Yeah, I love it. Well, hey, we made it to 52 minutes before we said too much about AI, but let's get into it. So, I think you brought it up. I've talked to 3 platforms recently that are, basically saying a no AI creators policy, and they are actually, using that as a marketing tool to say, hey, real people, real creators. It's funny. I don't know if that's for the benefit of the brand or the creator. I think probably more for the creator, because creators are scared right now about being put out of business by these AI creators. And I think audiences are definitely, wanting toggle buttons on social media, be able to toggle AI on and off. But going back to your insight into around, like, can we tell yet? My client Lawson sponsored Creator Palooza at South by Southwest, and one of the other partners who did a demonstration was an AI digital twin creation company, and they were basically had a booth where you could walk over, read, about 2 minutes worth of text, and they would create an AI twin for you on the spot for free.
Yeah.
And what I thought was really smart of them is, before they launched into their demonstration, they actually did, guess if it's real, for the audience. So the first one, they put up two videos, played them simultaneously. 50% of the room thought one was real. 50% thought the other one was real. And I didn't get it right. Then they put up 4. When you have 4 in like different locations, then it starts to get really hard. And, I think I don't know if it was the context of like a demonstration, loud bar in Austin. I think sometimes it's the audio that actually is the giveaway.
Yeah.
And if I were to see it this close on my phone versus up on a stage, in a loud room full of beer and margaritas.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right. I think like based on this demonstration, we can't be 6 months away from like total, ubiquitousness of like not being able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
So when we enter that world, what is going to be the policy of Creator.co? Are you guys going to embrace AI creators, but only if they're doing it through digital twins as an extension of an existing creator, or are you guys thinking the purist model?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have a definitive answer for you on that today, and I certainly wouldn't want to be put on the spot to provide one. But I think,
Sure.
like I said, I think there's a place for all of it. I think at the end of the day, like what's our ethos as a company is we want to connect brands and creators together to create mutual benefit for all parties, right? And so that means that we want to help a brand achieve what their brand goals are, and whether that's in awareness, sales, etc. And we want to help creators be able to turn a passion into something that they can monetize and grow and really be a part of, right? And like that's not, I'm not, that's, I'm not paying lip service to that. That's really why we exist, right? And our approach is we want to be the intersection of those two things. We want to be the place where brands and creators to go to create value with each other, right? So I think AI, like I said, I think it has a role here. I think I'm excited about how AI can make our platform more efficient for our brands. I'm excited about how it will make our platform more effective for the creators, and ways that they can kind of scale themselves, their name, image, and likeness. At the end of the day, the creator economy, social commerce, social media, it's actually about people, right? It's about connecting people and, your message resonating with me, and therefore I'm going to engage in conversation with you. I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to take your recommendation, and I'm going to go out and, buy that product or do that thing or join that club or take on that movement, right? So it is about people connecting. And I think if that's really what this space is about, then people are always going to be in the middle of it. I think with anything AI right now, those that embrace it, those that learn and understand how it can make them better, more effective in the things that they're doing, those are the people that are going to win in this space, right? So it's not, I maybe take a little bit more of a purist view in that it's not about like AI replacing people. It's actually about AI augmenting people and enabling them to do better things, do more, and maybe to do so while also enjoying a little bit more time to themselves or some leisure, right? The biggest pain point for creators today is the creation of that content, how time consuming it is to create that content, right? We only see the finished product when we open up Instagram or TikTok, but we don't see all of the multiple takes and edits that go into that. We don't see all of the things that are happening behind the scene. So if AI can enable a creator to create that polished piece of content more effectively, more efficiently, and that enables them to do more things or actually spend less time on their phone doing takes and edits, then that's a win, right? So that's the way I look at it. I think there is no one answer here, right? And we don't know. Like anybody can say this is our policy, this is the answer, but they don't know, because they don't know what's coming around the corner 12 months from now, and what the AI wizards have in store for us. So I think it's just about really at this stage of the game, it's about being adaptable, right?
Yeah.
No. And like again, I connect a thread. Like I've been around enough. I can remember a pre-internet marketing era. I was actually saying this to somebody yesterday. I remember the first time somebody came in to my office and told me that my company needed a website, and I thought he was crazy. Yet 2 months later, I was going to the executive of our company going, we need a website, right? Like we can't operate without one, right? And it's kind of, it's kind of the same when it comes to AI, right? A lot of people are scared of it, understandably. Even some of the experts, the jury's out on where it's all going. But I think it's the people, like I said, that embrace it and really learn. It's an opportunity to learn, right? And life's about learning, and then see where it goes and how you can use it to be more effective in whatever it is you want to do.
I think so. I like that approach. I don't think you need to be myopic about it. You don't need to be a purist or a full embracer. I think probably the reasonable place to be is somewhere in the middle right now. Cautiously optimistic, I think,
Exactly.
is the right posture for most people.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, fascinating conversation. Really excited to continue to follow along. I'm sure we'll run into each other in the field shortly.
Yeah.
And love what you guys are building. I think taking that consumer and that commerce centric approach has definitely been a win for you guys. And it's no accident that you guys are showing up in more places in the American market. So congratulations on all the great success. If folks want to follow along, check out your podcast, or learn more about creator.co, where would you like to send people?
They can just go to creator.co. That's the best starting point. Look up me on LinkedIn, Rob Dawson at creator.co. I'm sure you'll find me. And happy to engage in more conversation. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to do this. It was great, and looking forward to seeing it in its finished form. So
yeah.
Thanks.
You got it, buddy.
Yeah.
And for those of all of you who are following along, if you are seeing the show for the first time, do not forget to give us a follow or a subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, a honest review on whatever platform you happen to be listening on is how we grow the audience organically. And last but not least, if there is a creator out there or a marketer or somebody who wants to learn about how AI is being implemented in the creator economy and how we're helping people move metal, not just drive awareness and engagements, don't forget to share the show. And with that, I will wish you a great day, Rob.